My stat for this fight, so Faber has had 4 bantamweight title fights in the UFC, and they were also his first 4 bantamweight losses. The stat today for this fight, Aldo has been around forever. He's been fighting for 15 years. The dude's only 33 years old, and he's kind of one of those legends where, I don't know, I've always expected him to be much older. Even when he came into the UFC, he was only like 25, 26, and he already had a huge career behind him. So that's my fact today, because I looked him up and I saw that he's only 33 years old. I love it. So Jermaine Durandamy is 46-0 in pro kickboxing. She's got 30 KOs. And she started off her MMA career 0-1 with her first round submission loss. So imagine going from the peak of pro kickboxing, considered one of the best in the world, and coming in and gets submitted in the first round by an armbar. Here is Max Holloway with a win. Will overtake GSP, Mighty Mouse, and John Jones.
Oh, wow.
For the second longest win streak in UFC history at 14 wins.
Oh, wow.
Anderson Silva is number 1 with 16, but Max Holloway will become number 2.
Craig, is that true?
No, that is not true. Max Holloway lost to Dustin Poirier. Craig's stats is incorrect.
Whoa!
Despite the fact that Covington constantly is going hard after this Monday, they actually share a few similarities. Both fighters are 15-1 in their MMA career. They both got 1 loss in their record due to a rear naked choke submission in the first round. And in the last 3 fights, both fighters have fought and beaten Damian Maia and Rafael Dos Anjos.
Play Must Singer, I love hearing it.
It's a good sting.
Can I ask you boys a question?
Do you want to hear it again?
No. Oh. No, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about decisions?
How do you feel about decisions?
Jokes?
Do you love decisions? Gadelia and Grasso have 16 UFC fights between them. Only 2 haven't gone to the scorecards. Pre-UFC career, Claudia finished 8 of her 11 wins, and Alex finished 4 of her 8. It's a 36% decision rate pre-UFC, and it's an 88% decision rate once they hit the UFC. I'm predicting either way this fight goes, probably a 3-rounder. Shawnee, if you thought that my stat from before was a little bit heady, get a load of this. And this one's just for you. You're our resident 4-stripe white belt.
Oh, thank you very much.
Alexei Olenek. Oh.
Stick to the script, Craig.
Keep forgetting that one. It's all good. Let's go. Alexei Olenek has fought 71 professional MMA fights.
Oh.
He has 57 wins with 45 submissions. He's been fighting since 1996, which is 2 years before Macy Barber was born, and has fought multiple times in one night on 15 separate occasions. He has submitted opponents with 11 different submission holds, 12 if you count submission due to punches, including 1 neck crank, 1 inverted arm bar, 1 bulldog choke, 2 arm triangles, 2 guillotines, 3 heel hooks, 3 arm bars, 4 scarf headlocks, 5 triangle chokes, 11 Ezekiel chokes, and 12 rear naked chokes, all in professional MMA. Some would say he's probably pretty good at submissions. Guys, I love early MMA and the ridiculousness of the names of some of those events. So in honor of that, some MMA event names from Holly and Raquel's past. We got Double Threat, Clash in the Cage, Havoc, Supremacy, Champion's Quest, Vengeance, Brute Force, Blast, Extreme, and my personal favorite, Bad Girls Gone Wild, with, of course, girls with a Z at the end of it as well, which is just, just the quality of early MMA with those named events. The UFC obviously used to do named events. They stopped them after UFC 125 Resolution ended with a draw between Frank Edgar and Gray Maynard. Obviously, no resolution there. And then UFC 76, my personal favorite, was UFC 76 Knockout. Card had no knockouts on it. Very, very sad.
Was that a Pornhub browser?
I think I've seen most of
mate.
those ones, Craig.
Blast, extreme, brute force. I've seen all these, man. I know all these.
Was it on page 53 or something? Oh, can't do it anymore.
Part of the reason why I don't know if he was ever going to put his gloves back on, but a bit over 3 years since Conor McGregor fought Eddie Alvarez and became the champ. Obviously, he lost. He came back, lost to Khabib, and is he ever going to come back after that? But after that loss to Eddie Alvarez, he's had one MMA fight. Donald Cerrone has had 11. Cerrone has had 33 UFC fights, won 23, and finished 16. And the longest gap of Cerrone's career came at just under 9 months long. Not to mention he's had 2 fights within 15 days of each other. So he's had his first 2 fights came 13 days apart, and then he fought on back-to-back UFC cards in January of 2015, which was 15 days apart. The dude likes to fight. He often says that his lifestyle is completely unsustainable without fighting every 3 months. You watch the embeddeds, he's always on jet skis or he's always jumping out of planes or anything like that. So, I mean, this should be, by all accounts, he's getting paid bank for this fight, something to the tune of 8 times what he made on his last couple of fights. So, good times for Donald Cerrone.
So my stat today for this fight, Derek Lewis's last opponent, Blagoy Ivanov, has a history with Derek Lewis's current opponent. So Ilir Latifi had his very first professional fight against Blagoy Ivanov, who was 2-0 at the time. The fight ended in just 55 seconds after Latifi tackled Ivanov into one of the ring posts and the ring broke.
Wow, that's good.
It's literally a no contest broken ring.
Wow.
They should have just let that play on, shouldn't they?
They should have.
I reckon.
Just stay
Joe
away
Rogan
from
would have
that
got his basketball court.
Yeah, he would have.
Guys, cast your mind back. It's April 2019. Early hours of the morning, and there's a knock on Dan Ige's door. He opens it up, and there's some people from the lab. They want to take some of his blood. Thinking they were USADA, he let them in and take 4 vials of his blood before they went to sign the document, and they realized that A, the people weren't USADA, and B, he was not the man that they were there to take blood from. They awkwardly were asked to leave from Dan Ige, who said he was furious that they were so nice that he was trying not to blow up. And they left and they took his blood, and he doesn't know who they were.
Oh my God, that's so weird.
Yeah. Somewhere out there, Dan Ige's blood, I think the guy's name was like James that they were looking for. And they were like, at the end of it, he's like, sometimes USADA come in and get you to sign first or at the end. And he's like, oh, it's fine, it's early morning. I'm sure he's checking some credentials every time he gives his blood now. So Justin Tuffer, he might be an actual hometown hero. So his first 3 fights in professional MMA all took place in Brisbane, Australia, where he hails from. 3 big-time knockouts, and his first fight not in the Sunshine State was down in Melbourne, where we were down there, and he got knocked out in the first round. He's facing a hometown hero in his own right, Juan Adams, Houston, Texas. It'll be the 4th fight in his home state and his 3rd fight in front of his home city. So we'll see how that plays out. So Valentina Shevchenko's older sister Antonina is also a UFC fighter. Both guys have very impressive MMA and kickboxing record. I think Antonina is 39-1 in kickboxing, and the most up-to-date record I could find for Valentina Shevchenko was 56-2 in her kickboxing and Muay Thai record. So obviously very successful fighters. I wanted to try and find a UFC sibling combo that had a greater disparity in talent. And the one I settled on was Matt Serra and Nick Serra. So Matt Serra, obviously, TKO, GSP, UFC 69,
won the UFC welterweight title. And yes, Stoney, I did say welterweight. He also entered the UFC Hall of Fame in 2018, which, I mean, let's be honest, as far as the sport goes, that's a pretty solid record. Nick had one fight in the UFC, 0-1 at UFC 37.5, and his last professional MMA fight he lost due to disqualification, and the official reason for the disqualification is that he refused to stand up from a butt scoot, despite being asked repeatedly by the referee. Guys, I'm going to do something a little bit unusual. My stat is going to directly link into my pick, so just pay attention. So, John Jones's most dominant wins: Lyoto Machida, 6'1", 74-inch reach, 8 years ago. Shogun Rua, 6'1", 76-inch reach, 8 years ago. Chael Sonnen, 6'1", 73-inch reach, 7 years ago. John Jones's least impressive performances: Alexander Gustafsson, 6'5", 79-inch reach, 6 years ago. Ovin St. Preux, 6'4", 80-inch reach, 3 years ago. And Thiago Santos, 6'2", 77-inch reach, 7 months ago. Let me introduce you to Dominic Reyes, 6'4", 77-inch reach, 12-0 with 9 finishes, a southpaw that Jones does not enjoy fighting those. I see Dominic Reyes eking out a close decision victory.
Whoa.
Similar fight to Santos, just without the injury.
Damn.
I'm staggered.
Yeah. I'm still trying to work out those numbers. That's ridiculous, mate.